I don't know. I think the best thing or the funniest thing rather when looking at anything that involves like comic book shit is like when it's like good superheroes and bad superheroes. Like either way, they still have fucking powers.
Right.
They're still fucking badasses. You know what I'm saying? But they're just not as good as the other badasses that they're with. You know,
like villains and shit. Like, how do you make a villain that could blow up an entire planet trash? Especially when we're on that planet. It's crazy.
What makes Earth so special in superhero shit?
It's straight up the fact that they take somebody that's not supposed to be human and humanize them, and they just make it so it's like, I have to protect this planet because I'm strong. You know, like
because that's like Superman, right? But then it's like, all right, if you that's DC. Now if you switch over to Marvel, you see it like, and we got like Infinity Stones laying here on Earth, exactly. You know,
like for no reason. Like, bro, come on, you really think Galactus would?
Alright, so then that brings me to it. Marvel versus DC.
What aspect?
Superheroes, supervillains, their plots.
Plots? Oh.
Who's better? Who do you take?
That thing is, that is just such a tricky, even though you're getting into specifics, it's still so tricky because there are going to be people who have only played the Batman series games but have no knowledge about DC. There are going to be people that have all the knowledge in the world about comics but have never seen a film, you know what I'm saying? So it's like when you talk about that, and when I say it's completely different in each of those things, whether it's movie, the film, games, comics, they're all so different, especially with comics, because the comics, there's not just one set story. Like, yeah, they have storylines, but there are so many one-off comics or what-if comics. Like, I mean, there's some where Spider-Man is, like, fused with Bane or some shit. Like, bro, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not even from the same universe, and they'll be fighting, like, Spider-Man and Batman and shit. Like, bro, it's crazy. There'll be somewhere where Superman is sitting there eating kryptonite for breakfast. Like, bro, like, there's just so many things. But I feel like when we talk about it now, it is strictly the films, because there's really not too many games for on either side. In the comics, there's way more comics than movies, but the mainstream is really just watching the films nowadays and just seeing that Marvel is on top of their game and how DC could be, but, you know, aren't.
But even with that, I think DC still holds the greatest comic film of all time, being The Dark Knight. I know Marvel has a better collection than DC.
Yeah.
However, that, like I said, The Dark Knight, it holds its own versus any. If you're putting it up against any Marvel movie, any just comic movie in general, it's better than, in my perspective.
Right. I'm definitely gonna have to like watch that at least a few times, because in from my point of view, that film for me is definitely Infinity War. I'm telling you, bro, the dialogue is ridiculous. There's not a word that they said in that movie that didn't mean something. The colors, the contrast, like I always bring up, I'm gonna keep bringing it up because it's just a fact. The colors and contrast, they did all that for a reason. You know, obviously they had to debuff some villains, some heroes, and buff some villains and heroes. Economies, like whatever, but everything that happens in any film, you know what I'm saying? That
Right.
Branches from the comics. But what were you about to say?
No, I was just saying The Dark Knight, for me, why it's so great from a filmmaker's perspective is the realism it has versus Infinity War. You know, like, I won't ever deny that Infinity War has way more action than The Dark Knight. Maybe even more entertaining than The Dark Knight. But storyline and plot-wise, character-wise, you know, it's to me, it's definitely better.
Yeah, I can agree, probably character-wise, because even though I haven't seen the movie, I know how much time Marvel has had to build their characters. And that's what Infinity War and Endgame was. Like, they've been known they were going to do something like that, but the reason why it's taking years and years is because they were building those characters.
Right. I think that's also why Marvel's is so on top, is because of the character choice Like the people that they cast to play the characters, their character choice, is unbelievably on point. Like it's so accurate, it's unbelievable.
It is.
So
even the superheroes that are straight trash, like even them, like they look like they would play the part. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It really is. And the fact that they did that from the start.
Right.
Like think about who's changed really. Like, and I'm talking about the actual actors and actresses. Like nobody. Like, they don't just switch them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's pretty finite. And again, that goes back to like their job though. Like it's in the contract. Like you can't be doing other movies if you're with us. You know what I'm saying? You can't try and be another superhero. So it's like it also goes back to being straight versus freedom. Like how much freedom do you think DC actually had? They probably had a lot. And they also probably didn't even have a plan to do what Marvel was doing. You know what I'm saying? But once Marvel took off, they were like, okay, maybe we should.
Right. I believe DC is a much darker universe, and because Marvel, I mean, you gotta think about it, Marvel had so many films. Marvel's entire universe, to me, is set up like they know they're superheroes. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody in there knows that what they're doing is superheroes. Exactly. Yeah, it's a little cliche, but they're gonna have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? However, DC superheroes are more on the basis of like, I'm here to save the world.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like they're trying to make it dark so that they can make it bright themselves. When it's just, if they just stick to some dark shit. You know?
No, my bad, but I brought that up too because it's like when DC started to, when you see like the Man of Steel, you see Wonder Woman. I'm not saying that they were, I don't think, first off, that they were bad films.
Yeah.
It depends on what are you comparing them to. Right. Now, don't get me wrong, they have dropped obviously some bad films. Yeah, Batman vs Superman, cough cough.
Yeah. Suicide Squad. Actual trash.
But like I said, to me personally, they had the Man of Steel. Wonder Woman was a good movie. Man of Steel wasn't a bad movie, but they took too much criticism for, I believe it was because there's Superman fighting another guy that was like Superman. So obviously they had to go through buildings and stuff. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? They took too much flack for that, and then they started to go down a path of trying to conform rather than create and believe in what they created. Right. You know what I mean? Because if you really go back and look at some of the DC movies, if I'll use Dark Knight for an example, it's exactly what it is, a dark movie. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's still PG-13 too on top of that.
It should be some dark movie.
Exactly.
It's from DC.
But it was so good because it represented exactly what it was trying to represent. Right. And that's why people love that film. Exactly. You know?
And talking about the actors of Marvel, that they had a good Joker, and that's extremely important in any DC film. Had a nice Batman. And when I say nice, I don't mean personality. I mean like the actor. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think. I mean, I honestly, in my perspective, I think Christian Bale is the best Batman. He just because of what Batman is. Like he's not really like when he's Batman. He's Batman. Once again, it goes back to that point where I said that they know, like they believe that I'm here to save the world. You know what I'm saying? Versus I'm a superhero type thing. I'm here to be a symbol. Is what Batman's whole thing is. You know, and it's like so when he's Batman, he's Batman. But when he's Bruce Wayne, he's supposed to be a cocky billionaire. You know what I'm saying?
He's supposed to put on that tough guy act as well, but it's just in a different viewpoint. It's more of like a rich tough than a real tough. You know?
Like if it's not Lucius or Alfred, you know, maybe Rachel, then he's just a cocky billionaire. Everybody else who doesn't really know much, you know, goes around buying things, and you know, like I said, I think Christian Bale played that role very well. You know,
that's what's up though. And you also want to talk about like bad films versus good films. Obviously, there's always opinion, but when you think about Marvel, they just really haven't released that many bad films. You know what I'm saying? Like I can only name two. It's Captain Marvel and Ant-Man vs. the Wasp. Like those were tried. And the thing is, the first Ant-Man was a really good movie. That shit was hilarious. Bro, you remember back in high school, I took my crush to go see that the day after. The day after I already saw it, so I could be like, yo, I wonder. That was hilarious.
Oh my god!
If you listen to this, like a dick. But no, but the thing is, like, it was actually a really good movie, but the second one was trash, bro. It was just literally, it was garbage. Like, you don't need, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched all the Marvel films, like, you don't need to watch that one. It's just trash. Watch the first Ant-Man, but the second one is waste your time.
I think Marvel also had a very clear, precise vision on where they intended to be.
Oh yeah.
As soon as the Iron Man project launched and every other film after that, they knew where they would end up by 2020. You know, so I really love that for Marvel's vision. However, like I said, I think DC just got lost along the way trying to conform. You know, I think that's where they took a turn for the worse.
I mean, think about it like this. Marvel's about to be in Phase 4, or either are right now. They already have plans for Phase 5. And even though they don't release it, probably already know what's going to happen at the end of it. DC is at a point where they're trying to figure out how to restart. That's, that's leverage. Like Marvel has leverage.
I definitely will say in DC's light, first thing you can do is either email or call Emmanuel Driscoll, the greatest filmmaker, have a sit down, and let's actually plan out where we intend to be, where you all intend to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I think we can make that happen. You know,
if I was DC, I would really take that advice. Yeah. I really would.